I could only hope that that you guys stick to your guns. Tell me what motivated the RNC to put this out there, to make this statement, and do you think it'll accomplish what you set out? And I assume that is to make sure that the movies never run. Right.
Well, Steve, let me take you back a little while. One of the things that we recognized at the end, as we were kind of looking back after the election in 2012, is we said, the RNC, when Chairman Previous got elected, the train had left the station on the debates. It was one of the things we regretted. And we said the party needs to have greater control over this, and he has been working with internally to try to figure out ways that the party can get a better handle on controlling the debate process so that we don't have media organizations that are frankly intent on making a mockery of our candidates and our issues control the debates. And so while we've been kind of having internal discussions about this, we saw this pop the other day where CNN and NBC said, well, we're going to do a infomercial for Hillary Clinton during the next coming thing. And we kind of said, okay, well, while we still have things that we need to talk about with respect to the debates, but step one is to say absolutely not. You can't even be considered if you're going to air this movie. This is ridiculous. Like the idea that you're basically going out there and giving someone a hand out and saying we're going to help tell your story so that sets you apart from the field is absolutely unacceptable.
Right, and you also point out, although I'm sure this isn't your primary concern, it was pointed out yesterday by the RNC that this is also not the fairest of things for other Democratic candidates who might be running in a primary against Hillary Clinton.
Right, exactly. Here's the dig. This is the simplest way to equate this, because I've heard all the excuses. CNN's telling us, wait, you should wait and see it. Judge it then. How do you know it's going to be? How do you know that it's going to be that fair? Well, here's the simple answer. If I tell you, Steve, I'm going to buy you lunch. Develop who she is as a person, done for free nationally by two different networks, that helps her tremendously against all of the other candidates, both on her side of the aisle and on our side. And I think that's just blatantly unfair.
Absolutely. And, this wait and see, do they mean to tell you that this is going to include Hillary's infamous "what difference does it make" testimony at Benghazi, that it's going to include the parents who say that Hillary lied to her about what happened at Benghazi, that it's going to include everything back to the Rose Law Firm and everything else, and missing billing records and everything
that Whitewater.
Right. I mean that's insane. But let me ask you this, and this goes beyond this, and this is why I'm so thrilled.
Steve, can I just ask you real quick?
Yeah.
Let me. I say this sort of tongue in cheek, but I think you and I have both seen this movie, right? I mean, like everyone keeps saying, you don't know what this movie's going to look like, and I go, I kind of do.
Yeah,
I think I've seen this movie before.
Yeah, they're going to get some.
And let me tell you, it always seems to work out that the Democrat looks good, the Republican looks bad, and that's how it ends. So.
Absolutely, and we're talking to Sean Spicer, Communications Director for the RNC, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. So before I go on to the next point, so what the response from CNN? What do you say?
NBC said, well, that's actually a separate division of NBC. That's the entertainment division. And so, the debates would happen on the news division, and those two divisions are completely separate.
Yeah, right. Of course they are. Like NBC News and MSNBC are completely separate, where you got Chuck Todd, White House correspondent with Brian Williams, and he does his own talk show, and Andrea Mitchell, chief foreign correspondent, and she does her own talk show, and I could go on and on and on. They're completely independent.
Clearly, you can see how different that is.
Absolutely. All right, well then, so let me ask you this. Why do you think the Republicans, and I guess I don't know if it's the RNC's role, maybe it is, you tell me, in years gone by, I mean, we had Gwen Ifill, if I'm recalling correctly, who had a pending book deal on Barack Obama coming out before the 2008 election. And if Obama won, naturally, it would enhance her book. Now, I don't know how that would ever happen to that, but that was certainly something, conflict of interest. And beyond that, with almost without exception, all of the questioners of the major debates, especially when it's down to one guy, one Republican and one Democrat, are left-wingers, traditional left-wingers. Why hasn't, until now, the Republican side, and again, maybe it's your function as your organization, or maybe it's not, insisted that more conservative questioners get a role in these debates.
So you bring up a really good point, Steve. There's two separate issues at play. One is the debate process that happens in the primary, and that's one where I think the party does and will have a much greater role this time, because unequivocally the party does have a much greater role in the primary.
But the primary is between Republicans.
Right.
Yeah.
And then so I'm just saying that there's a distinction, and so I'll tell you the first thing is on that, because let's kind of cross that bridge first, which is what happens right now is there's no incentive for anyone to say no. In other words, let's say that I'm running in third or fourth place and CNN or MSNBC even calls. Well, I know that if I say yes, I get a bunch. I'm maybe in third or fourth or fifth place in the primary in the current polling. Hey, if I go do this debate, I get free airtime, and right now, maybe my campaign can't pay for it. So hey, at some point I got to do everything I can. So what happens is then when two or three of them say no, then the other guys at the top, well, they can't say no because then it looks like they can't handle it. So there's this problem. Well, I think the party, what you're going to see is us really try to get hold of that, where we create a incentive not to do unsanctioned debates, and the debates that we do have would be much more thoughtful in the sense of exactly the point that you're getting at in the primary process, meaning we're not going to hand them off to moderators or people that are seeking to do our party damage.
Right. So they make they make the whole party, all the candidates look bad. They could set the tone. They could pose the questions in a way where the candidates would have to be on the defensive, and that would apply to all the candidates in the primary. Okay, you've explained that well.
Right.
Now let's move to the presidential debates themselves. The three debates. What control do you have there, or can you have there? How do you shut out if you go ahead with this, and if it comes to that NBC and CNN?
So what that does is what happened several years ago, literally decades ago, is we created this system called the Presidential Debate Commission, where it's got 3 Republicans, three Democrats, and they create these forums and negotiate, and the campaigns themselves negotiate with the Presidential Debate Commission, and therefore. And so they'll go back and forth. At that point, it truly does become between the candidate and the debate commission. There's nothing that requires that. But what has happened is that there's sort of been this, what do you want to call it, truce amongst everyone that says, well, if we allow the commission to be our agreed-upon negotiator, then we go from there. I think that, again, if you ask Chairman Priebus right now, he thinks that system has always tended to benefit the Democratic side, exactly as you pointed out.
I think so. Yeah.
But what that does, but when you get to that point in the race, it truly is.
It's up to the candidates and their representatives.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, I'll say this: you don't have to, and you may disagree with me, so you could shoot back if you want, or you could stay silent. But the people who have run the campaigns of McCain and Romney had no idea that they were running not only against Barack Obama, but running against the liberal media. And unless the next candidate, Sean, understands that, it doesn't matter who you guys put up, because to just as Sarah Palin is now saying, she wasn't allowed to say this, she wasn't allowed to say that. You conceded the war on women. You wouldn't bring up the radical leftist abortion stance of the Democrats and Obama compared to Romney's, who was more mainstream. You conceded the war on women. I mean, unless the people change who are running these presidential campaigns, I just don't see anything changing in the results.
Right. Well, I think, look, I don't think you're going to get a ton of argument from this chairman at the RNC. He believes that we need to be much more forceful and stake out a position, and to hell with history, if you will, in the sense that, yeah, I get it. That's how we've done 3 campaigns before, or 4, or whatever the number is. That doesn't make it right. And frankly, it's time that every once in a while that we stood up and said, hey, we'd like to, here are the formats that I think should be explored. And as you pointed out, like, why are we allowing people who have been, literally staffers to Democratic presidents,
right,
and members of Congress to get to moderate our. I mean, no one. It blows my mind, and I know you feel the same way. Where it's like, whenever the Democrats or the liberals go into news media and start taking control, then it's no big deal. the notion that we would ever have anyone from, say, Fox News
right.
moderate the debate,
Right.
it's just out
That's
of the
outrageous.
question.
Absolutely.
But and when in 2008, when the Democrats refused to debate on Fox News, well, that makes sense, of course, right?
Right.
That's the mainstream media says, well, why would they? That would be silly. When the RNC stands up and says we are not going to allow networks that go out of their way to benefit Hillary Clinton to participate in our debate process, it's outrageous. How dare you guys do this?
Right.
What about the First Amendment? I mean, I've heard more excuses in the last 24 hours, and I keep recalling to these folks, I don't remember you all being that outraged in 2008 when Fox News got iced out. Or how about this? When Citizens United aired a pay-per-view movie,
or
wanted to
for Hillary, and they wouldn't allow them to do it. Yep.
They went nuts. Oh, how dare you!
All right,
guys
here's
do
the
this?
thing, and I'm not in a position to tell you your business, but please. Please,
Sure you are.
the people who run the next campaign understand that the American public, they are on your side. They are not, but you're running against no matter. Look, when Romney went overseas, what was the first thing? It was the gaffe trip. Miss Governor Romney, how do you feel about your latest gaffe? I mean, I remember that question. You got to be kidding. No matter what your candidate will do, it'll be a gaffe. He'll be a buffoon, or she'll be a buffoon, or there'll be a phony conservative, phony black, phony woman like Palin was. You can't win, so forget them. Go to the public, go to the people, hold press conferences about the media. When Newt Gingrich stood on that stage and blasted Maria Bartiromo and whoever else he blasted for stupid questions, I got to tell you, it sent. I got a warm chill up my leg. I mean, that's what you got to do if it's a dumb question. And if you guys permit Candy Crowley to participate again after what she pulled, that lie, which she never said, you know what, I was wrong, even till to this day. Please, no Candy Crowley. I'm telling you, learn your lesson, guys. All right, I'm going to shut up because you're going to hate me when you get off the phone. You're going to say, that guy thinks he's preaching. He's preaching.
You've been a solid voice. That we need more voices like you out, not just in the radio, but on all over, because I think that's what people need to know. I honestly think sometimes that those of us out there fighting for the conservative cause need to know that there are more people out there willing to give them cover when they stand up.
Absolutely. Any of you guys are welcome here anytime. Sean, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Steve.
Take care.